This is the Singer 237 from Vermont I was talking about a little while ago. It became a very busy morning, but I don't want to get behind on some things that I'm doing. This is the red cross that I did with the Singer 6212 and a zigzag stitch. And the 6212 did fine. The thread that I was using did not do fine. So the 6212 prefers a good thread like Coats XP, which I ended up doing the two side pieces in XP. But what I'm doing now, you can see there's red and white, and I didn't really blend it. I ended up doing it that way on purpose because this cross-stitch fabric, it might even be fiddler's cloth. When I did it like that with just kind of random rows of zigzag, it felt like it would be like on a backpack or something. So I left it like that and didn't try to be perfect with it or fill it in. But what you can do when you have a piece like that, no matter where you're putting it on, is this is the adapter foot for the snap-on feet, and it's a low shank adapter, and this is the cording foot, and what I'm doing is kind of squaring off the design with the cord. On a couple of rows I went like 3 stitches too far, on a couple I went too far in, or not far enough. So I'm doing this with the Bishop hand crank. I'm sorry, there's something wrong with the dog. Get in your bed. Like I said, it's been a busy morning. So here is, I'm using like a beige thread. I have it on the the second zigzag length from the right, center needle, and 12 stitches per inch. And this, again, is the Bishop hand crank. So when I'm done with this, you'll be able to see I used the beige or cream colored thread to kind of have the stitches show up. Now, I left the motor on this. This is why I have to pull the cord tightly. I don't want to stitch in the middle of it. That happened before. I am getting a little bit of drag from the motor still being on the machine. I haven't loosened up the motor mount bolt. Now, that's the difference between this machine or an external motor machine and the 1591, because the 1591, being a direct drive gear setup, I didn't get that drag at all. I'm using DMC embroidery floss, and I'm really outlining, and this is what I have to get better at, is keeping that cord tight. But anyway, that's why this hand crank is going so slow right now, because there's a drag on the motor, from the motor on the hand crank. So if you come out with something that doesn't seem quite perfect, when I was doing this one last night, I was thinking of my son. I think when he went to camp, I had to put together a first aid kit or something, and I probably have done this before. Made a Red Cross bag or a medical type bag for him to take to camp. Sometimes, you know, when school budgets or town budgets aren't good, they ask you to bring your own stuff. So this is making it bigger. It's making the cross bigger and a little bit more rounded. I could be doing this faster if I plugged in the motor. So by that drag, on the motor, comparing it to the 1591, I would probably end up taking the motor off of this and using it as a hand crank. Now let me show you how this looks, even though it's upside down. So you can see, I was tired last night. The 6212 did not like the thread, but it's still a wonderful feel. And like I said, you know, on anything, it's just a different look, a different type of painting. It's not anywhere near as filled in as the other one, which is over here, that I did with the 1591. So it's a whole different look. But by adding the cord around it, you just give it more structure. Now, if I want to, I can go back and fill those in. I can go back and, you know, keep working on it. And I don't think that's going to focus on the stitches. Let me see if I can do it this way. You can see over here, I left the beige. And that can be a design effect if you want to use a separate color. So with the hand crank, the 237 and a hand crank, I probably will take the motor off and just use it as a hand crank or in the treadle, or loosen the bolt and just keep the motor behind the machine or something. It takes 2 seconds to put a motor on, and this one doesn't have like a it doesn't have the, you know, the like the knee bar motor controller or anything. So I just loosen that bolt right there, take the whole thing off, and what you really need to remove is just the belt. And that could all lay behind the machine, and then if I needed to use it as a motor, I just put it back on. So there is a little bit of drag with the 237 with the motor on, but it's still a machine that can do anything. And if you don't want to use the hand crank, if I plugged it in, I'd be done with this in like 2 seconds. It's a great machine.